Hi, I'm Paul Solt from Super Easy Apps, and I want to talk about my app, Photo Table. So this just got approved on the App Store, and I did a little bit more work trying to show you how to integrate SwiftUI into an older Objective-C project. So this video is a little bit, it's probably not going to be as helpful for you, but it sort of shows you what it's like when you've got an older application and you need to update it for the App Store. The Xcode project files are always changing. So this project was first built, I think, with iOS 6. I don't think we were on iOS 5. So we were launching on iOS 6, and that meant we were using an older Xcode, probably like Xcode 7 or 8, or maybe even older, Xcode 6. It's got to be something like that, Xcode 5. It's been a while. So there's a lot of things that have changed, and I want to get SwiftUI in here, and I have a UI that I need to update. So I don't fully support dark mode, and one of the things that I want to do is add dark mode support. This view controller that I'm showing you right now is built with an XIB file, so that's a interface builder file, and it has it's not even a storyboard file. So this is before storyboards, we had XIB files, which are interface builder files. I did programmatically add a add photos button, but we're probably going to just totally replace this UI. So we got it on the App Store, which was great. I still want to improve the experience on dark mode, and I figured this would be a good screen to do a little bit of cleanup. You can't see everything on here because of the dark mode. So if we switch over to light mode down here, we can now see, oh wow, there's some more text that we need to update. So at the very top, we're going to see the title, and that's row. So I'm on the fence of having this separation. So this is kind of like the database schema sort of look for user interfaces. We might just be able to have title be the placeholder and then have the title be here. We don't get the clear button for free. I might just omit that feature, but it could be something that we add as an extra, as just an animation. And then we've got this manage album button, which currently, so this is implemented using a table view. This is before the collection view controller came out, and this is Objective-C. So this was based on a tutorial from Ray Wenderlich's website on how to do some kind of grid view. I made my own that I used in Photo Table, and I used it in Artwork Evolution, my other app. And did I use it anywhere else? I think these are my only two. I don't think I put it in Wallpaper Evolution. So when this came out, we had one size width of iPhone that was 320 points wide. I changed it so that I'm not using that super narrow thing, but when I changed it so that I'm not forcing the smaller size, now we've got some more space for the popover. And this is kind of the standard size for the popover, so it's filling up more. The problem is this is all frame-based layout, which means that I am physically calculating sizes, because in 2012 or in 2011, when we were working on this, it was always the same width across. It was 320 points wide. And so I just hard-coded a size that looked good where I had consistent things. Well, now we have the collection view. I don't think I'm going to switch this over to collection view, but honestly, I don't know. I think it's a lot easier if I just try and make it as small changes as I can to limit the scope, because I could spend forever like tweaking this, but no one buys it or no one downloads it. What's the point? So I have to sort of choose my battles. I think if I update Artwork Evolution, I might consider switching it. But again, there's so much logic and things that I put into this to like smart load on my Artwork Evolution app that I don't know if I do that, because that's an art creation app that just generates artwork. And that is Objective-C, just like this app is Objective-C. So this is the grid view. We're probably not going to touch that, except I can make it so that we're not hard coding the like 320 points. I have to do some different math and like calculate the width and then divide and figure out like what my spacing is going to be and do all that stuff. So I can do that. The add photos button, that's an easy thing to fix. Slideshow images. Again, this is another instance where like it's kind of this database view where you've got like the thing, the amount, and then a slider. And having it on separate sides really has always bothered me visually. So I want to see if we can sort of unify this and have the numbers over on the right. I don't know the best approach. Like I might just have like a number on the left and a number on the right, minimum and maximum. I don't know if it will actually display the number underneath the slider or if I have to make something more custom to show all that information. Or if we keep this on the left and the right and you just have at least anchors on the left and the right as to what the amounts are. And then we have this slide shows speed. So having slow and like fastest over here or slow and fast and allowing you to sort of swipe between that. Then we've got the date picker. Now the date picker, you'll see this was designed for the old style date picker that took up a big chunk of space. Now the date picker is more of this inline feature. So you tap it and it has this thing that pops up. So I need to fix that and make this more inline, which means basically scrapping a lot of the logic that's in this code file. I think it's over 700 lines of code. And I think we can simplify a lot of it if we leverage SwiftUI. I'm not doing anything super crazy here, so I should be able to easily use SwiftUI for this as well as the manage album if I want to change that. But I'm trying to limit how much I change. So for this code transformation, I want to use SwiftUI. And one of the ways that we work with that, since we've got an older dependency, is we want to have dependency injection, or we want to be able to mock an object. So I have an album object that's part of the data model for this app, and it has a certain set of properties. So I made an interface called an album setting, which then has all those properties, and you'll see that in this once I go into the speed coding of what that looks like. So that's kind of where we're going. So if I switch back to dark mode, you can just sort of see that there's some work to do. Things disappear. We've got to fix this up. And then this appears in the bottom right, but it also appears in the top left. So you can see the list of all the albums. And then if you click over here, you get the same view. The other thing that I'm not doing anymore is we were doing like specific sizes and we'd keep it small. But since sizes have morphed a little bit, that doesn't really make sense anymore. And so I want it to take up and sort of dictate its size. So we might be able to sort of self-size some of these views by leveraging SwiftUI. I don't know if it's going to work. We're going to find out. So that's going to be in another video, but this is kind of the state of things. And so if we jump back to Xcode, just walk through. So we're on the App Store. You can find it on the App Store photo table. And then in Xcode, I had just got it set up here, and I probably broke something when I did something. Oh, I was doing a code challenge and I was just testing out something. So we don't actually want that. And just get rid of this. So the exciting thing is that this is now working. And I've got my first sort of view to play around with. This is Objective-C app, and now I have SwiftUI. So you're going to see how I integrate that, how I work with the bridging header, and then how I fix some of the project settings. As you're working with iPhone apps, there are times when, especially an older project, you're going to have to make changes. I actually had to fix all the unit tests in this app. I had unit tests with both GHUnit, which is for C++ stuff. I don't even know if that's, am I doing any of that here? I guess I am. I didn't even try running these tests. I haven't touched the GHUnit test target, so I'm going to let that be because there's not too many tests. I'm not super worried about it, but I do have some unit tests that we're using SendTest, which is Apple's old framework, and now we have this new one. So that's what we're going to learn about this. And then the other thing, I don't think I made any commits yet, but you can see all these different files. So I deleted a bunch of old unit tests. And typically if I was going through this type of stuff, so let's just go through, I'd say like deleted old unused unit tests. Okay. There was another unit test target that wasn't really doing anything. I fixed an issue with like some of these items on the declaration. So I updated the the album interface so that we could conform to our protocol. And that is so we can do dependency injection for both tests or SwiftUI previews. What else did we do? We added our first SwiftUI album settings dialog to replace the old XIB file. And the reason that we're using an interface for this dependency injection is that it allows us to conform to a protocol, and then I don't need a real object. I can just pass in the value that I need. Apparently, I updated some kind of resources. I deleted some old files. And so here you can see I was using st assert not nil and st assert equals. Transforming that into XC test wasn't too hard. It's pretty much the same interface, at least I believe it is. The code all compiles now, and I just changed it to use XCT. So it was basically a find and replace, and then it was equal, not equals. So those weren't too hard to figure out, and I was actually happy that I could run the unit tests, and they all passed. So that's pretty much it. Updated project so that we could use SwiftUI and previews. So you're going to see, but I had an issue where I couldn't actually use SwiftUI previews, and that was frustrating. So I figured that out. We might still have more challenges, but beginning steps. In the next video after this, we're going to dive into actually doing all the SwiftUI coding. So now that we have the ability to do it, then I can sort of just go off and show you what that process looks like. All right, so let's do our commit and stage everything, and then just do this commit. All right, so with that, let's jump into the actual work that I did. This is sped up 2,000%. This is me trying to add a new file, figure out what we need to do. So see what the dark and the light mode looks like, and then creating that interface that we can code to. So I talked about having an interface. This is the object that I want to be able to mock. On the right, that's the album. So I'm trying to create like an album settings that is going to be the protocol that the album can conform to, as well as my mock object. And then doing this, I was like, oh, I have to update the nullability. So then I was looking at the nullability and figuring out, okay, what do I need to change? There was some properties that weren't marked up properly, so then they weren't. So you'll see title here. It was an implicitly unwrapped optional because it's an object. And so I had to update that to use copy, and then I had to add the nullability to say assume non-null begin right here. And once I did that, then I was able to get it to conform to the extension, which is this right here. And then we ran into another issue. So this is where it's telling me about none Swift optimization level for previews, which I didn't quite get because typically I would do that for debug and not release. But the only way I could get previews to work was to turn it on for both. So I didn't actually double check with a new project if like that setting is just not what I'm expecting for a default value, or if there's something else that was just misconfigured. Once I got that, so playing around with that, trying some different stuff. I switched to Vim mode. So in Xcode, let me just pause this real quick. So I switched to, we're going all over the place. So this is the Vim cheat sheet. This allows you to just use your keyboard and type everything rather than using the mouse as much. And this is a setting I'll just show you real quick. If you go to editor under Xcode. No, sorry, it's not on the screen because I'm not in an actual code file. So let's go into an actual code file. And under editor, there's this Vim mode. So clicking that will enable it. And then there's relative line numbers. It's just another setting, which basically shows you, if we see that real quick, this, I'm on line 11, and then these are lines above me. So in Vim mode, you have control characters. So as I move up and down with J and K, or left and right with H and L, and then you can type a number. So if I wanted to go to the very top of the file, let's go to line 9 above. I would type 9 and then J. Nope, I did that wrong. 9. Let's try that again. I'm going to type 9J. Oh, am I going the wrong 9K? Yeah, sorry. 9K, that's going to take me to the second line here. And then if I do 9J, that's going to go down because K goes up and J goes down. So that's Vim mode. You might not like the numbers changing, so you can turn that off depending on how you work. It's a little bit distracting. And then you can edit stuff. I'll talk more about Vim mode if you're interested. Just comment down in the video. These are a bunch of keyboard shortcuts. There's a lot of them for doing stuff, but it can save you from reaching over and then having to use your mouse. So that's why I'm doing it. So that's something I'm playing around with. That's what you're going to see in this video. And then I was just trying to figure out how to, what framework to import, adding the library so that I could do it, converting this to an XC test case, and then going through and replacing all of these and crossing my fingers and hoping that it would build. When you're doing these types of transformations, you don't always know what's going to work, what's not going to work. Then I found some tests that weren't being used, so I just commented them out, and then I decided to delete them. So I will get rid of those eventually, and then just configuring the scheme editor to have the test. There was some other thing in there. I don't know what that was doing. It might have been my entry point for the GH unit test. I'm really not sure. But there's a lot of like test stuff and things that have changed over the years. And I just didn't keep this up to date. Okay, so here's where I ran into the issue with the preview not working. And so I started Googling this error that I was getting. So you can see the error over on the right side. And looking around, then I find something. So I comment on it and share my own experience because it was related, but wasn't quite the same. And then I was looking up some SwiftUI stuff. I was trying to figure out like, what is the best way to do the sliders? Do I get anything for free that I don't get for free in UI kits? I don't think I've done sliders in SwiftUI. And then I was playing around with Vim, moving lines around, learning how to edit a little bit. Here I'm trying to figure out how to do replacement. I still don't know how to do that yet, so I'm going to have to look that up. And so then I just tried to code up a little simple thing just to get something working with a state variable and looking at the documentation a little bit. So that's what you're seeing here. And then I'm getting my mock object so that I can just paste that in and then start connecting that eventually. But right now it's kind of like, all I want to do is block it. So I just need to block the user interface. And that's what you're seeing right here. So I kind of laid out what I'm doing. I'm playing with Vim. I'm going to block out the UI, which means it's not going to be perfect. If you always try to get perfect on the first try, you don't make a whole lot of progress. And so like I already wasted probably an hour just trying to get all this set up and just playing around with it a little bit and playing around with Vim. So it's like I'm wasting a little bit of time. I just need something that works. I don't need all the bells and whistles yet. And then I want to connect it to the mock struct. Then I want to integrate it so that I'm actually modifying the actual album on the save or however that's going to work. And then adding the little details, like if I want to add that clear button and an animation to hide and show it, because I don't think we get that for free in SwiftUI. So that's something extra that you have to add. So that's pretty much where I ended up. And I got the keyboard and things working, playing around with that. Cool. So thanks for watching. If this was helpful or you like the discussion, I think 2000% speed up makes a little bit more sense. I feel really rushed when it's 3000 and I don't have time to react. And it's kind of like a blur of what's going on. So I think I'll do that. If you like the introductions to these videos as well, just let me know in the comments down below. And if this video is helpful, click the like button. I really appreciate it. I want to make some interesting content. So I'll probably have a SwiftUI tutorial on this specific screen. So you'll probably see what we're going to build. You'll see me build it fast, and then I'll break it down line by line of how it's working. And now, since I have a protocol that we can conform to in a mock object, it's really easy to design that user interface totally separate from the rest of the app. And then it's all about integrating it. So once we've tested it, we want to integrate it and make sure that things are working like we expect. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.